Thanks very much, Adam. Carl, always good to talk to you. Let's start right away with, are you still seeking appraisal? Why is that?
Well, we think it's undervalued, and we're gonna. We plan to go for an appraisal.
Mm-hmm. Aren't you rolling the dice here? I mean, you already made money. What if a judge decides the company's actually worth less than what Michael Dell and Silver Lake are paying?
Well, usually that doesn't happen. Usually these appraisals work out pretty well. We've done a lot of work on it, and at this time we think that it's worth more. We do have the right to go and give up the appraisal rights for 60 days after the merger goes through. So we have a fair amount of time to decide anyway. So it's almost, from our point of view, a no-brainer to go and say and decide later if we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Give it a shot. How much do you think it's really ultimately worth? What would you like to see a judge decide?
I haven't really thought that out, Trish. I mean, we're in 10 deals right now, and I think from our point of view, while we lost, and I'm somewhat saddened by that, we came out making a fair amount of money. We did the work the board should have done. I mean, the board to me acted in a horrendous way. They just caved in. As I say, I congratulated Michael because I think he did it out of self-interest, which makes some sense. But why the board just gave the company away, did not really even do a true auction, is beyond me. I mean, I think this Alex Mandel, he did a terrible job, and we told him that, and I've said it publicly. I mean, it took us to raise it $500-600 million more, and we did that without even working too hard. Yeah, I know they said it was the last and best offer, but the board actually, it's amazing. I mean, if you go to buy a painting in Sotheby's at an auction, the auctioneer doesn't tell you the painting's all scratched and here's $25 million, don't bid. That's literally what this board did. And this is the trouble in America. I will tell you this, that there is no corporate democracy. We as a country pride ourselves on democracy, and yet it's a dysfunctional corporate governance system in this country. And I'll tell you that if it was changed, and I hope with the Twitter, there may be a chance to raise enough people's awareness about this. If it would change, this country would be a lot more productive. There'd be a lot more jobs because executives would have to be accountable. CEOs would have to be accountable. You could replace them. There is none of that. There's a sort of a vicious cycle that goes on. It sounds tremendously corny, and I know it does. But, I came from Queens, a tough neighborhood. We had very little money. My mother's a school teacher. And I've done so well because it's a great country. A democracy is a great system when you have it. And while our political system lacks somewhat, it's nothing like this corporate system. The reason I make so much money, or one of the major reasons, is because once you get into these companies and clean up the mess, there's so much more value. And look at this board. Look how horrendous. I mean, it's like
Carl,
a dictatorship.
do you think that Southeastern will join you in seeking appraisal?
Oh, I really, that's completely their business. It doesn't matter to me whether they join or not. I mean, if you go for appraisal, you go for appraisal. It doesn't mean that more people join you that it's a plus or a minus. And we haven't made up our final we have not made up our final decision on appraisal, but we've done a lot of work on it, and we do think that it's worth a lot more, but that could change. We have time to change our mind on that.
Mm-hmm. So as you said, 60 days after the deal closes, you've got time to make a decision one way or the other.
Why are you so fixated on the appraisal?
I'm curious. I mean, if Michael Dell and Silver Lake, could they do anything to sweeten enough the offer for you personally so that you'd say, you know what, I'm not going to, because they're rolling the dice too, right? I mean, if they wind up going to Delaware.
Well, that's true for anybody that goes for appraisal. It has nothing to do with me. I mean, I have no more power here. We're sort of done now. I mean, I think it's a fait accompli what's happening, but I think that
now on paper, you've made money on this deal. In terms of a profit, any sense how much?
It's hard to say if you count all the dividends in. I mean, they gave a lot of extra dividends and what have you, so it's sort of a big complex, and I think you can figure it out. I don't think I should be talking about it, but we did all right. But that's not the issue here. I think the issue really is how you can. I mean, this is tantamount. I think what happened here is tantamount to a dictatorship. In fact, a dictatorship doesn't call meeting. When they lose an election, maybe they'll have one more election. These guys just kept going with it. So,
are you calling Michael Dell then a
no,
dictator?
I think Michael Dell was smart, and I congratulate him. I think the board is horrendous, and that's what I've said. And this guy, Alex Mandel, did a terrible job, in my opinion. But Michael Dell, I congratulate.
So the board was like a dictatorship?
The system, in this case, look, they follow the laws, but the laws allow you to do what they did. I'm not even arguing with what the judge said. The laws in Delaware did it. I'm doing Twitter. We're going to, on Twitter, I give my investment insights. And by the way, if the followers on Twitter follow me on Apple, they would have made a lot of money, and I hope they keep following me. Yeah, that's right.
You've released a lot of news on Twitter, including saying that you were not going to keep pursuing Michael Dell in terms of trying to defeat him. You also made the Apple news on Twitter. Carl, Apple is having a big day tomorrow, big product launch. What are you hoping to see?
Look, I think Apple is undervalued if you just look at the numbers. I think their products are great. I'm not a technology guy. But I think their numbers, they're so cheap relative to their EBIT numbers that it's almost, when I, recommended it on Twitter, or said that we owned it a bit cheaper than that, at the time that the Twitter came out, but it's still up 50 points. And I just think that sometimes you get these sort of no-brainers. But, Dell is not a no-brainer. I will say this, that Dell does have problems. But Apple didn't. I mean, Netflix didn't. Now, I'm going to be doing this Twitter, giving my insights, because I want to build a following, because I think that one day, if you have enough people, a lot more than we have now as followers.
Yeah, critical mass.
They're going to be, maybe, just maybe something could be done with this horrible bureaucracy that exists that keeps us from having good corporate governance. And, I'm not saying the judge did anything wrong. These are the laws. The laws of these states just back these corporations because it's a cycle. And I think we shouldn't have this. And then you get the money spent for these. They spend shareholders' money. It's like in the feudal system. The baron would have a castle and he'd have the peasants give him money, and then the peasants he'd use the money to get armies. That's what happened. And I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money doing this. But I will tell you this, that if we don't change, we're going to become a second-rate country. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we're not competitive, and that's one of the reasons that things have to change. I hope to accomplish something along these lines. I mean, maybe it sounds corny, but I really do care.
$150 billion worth of a buyback at Apple. How realistic do you think that is? I mean, have you talked to Tim Cook lately about that? What is he saying?
Well, Trish, I mean, you read what I said on Twitter. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to have a dinner.
Mm-hmm. And when was the last time you talked to him? When you tweeted?
Trish, you should read Twitter. I guess
you're a follower. Are you kidding?
You told me to follow you, and you told you would want to follow me. Why don't you read Twitter instead of asking me now?
No, I know that you're supposed to have dinner with him. When is it going to happen?
I said it would happen. It's going to happen this month.
Good. Okay. Sometime this month. A lot of people. Let's move on to another stock that I'd be curious to get your thoughts on. A lot of people have been getting into J.C. in the last week now that Mr. Icahn is out. Is it a company you'd look at?
No. I think that it's a company that's very hard to read which way it will go, and so I have no comment on that.
What about Netflix?
Well,
still high on Netflix,
look,
right?
We still own it. We haven't sold a share. I think Netflix is another one of those things that was a no-brainer back when it was 58. When we bought it, and I still think it's a good buy, but certainly it's not what it was when it was 58. But we do think that it has a great model, and that they start the year with $2.5 billion flowing into them. It's hard to beat that, and it's hard to compete with that, and that's the thing that I think a lot of analysts miss. That again, it's a monetary thing. You get so much money coming in, and these people love it. And I think Reed Hastings is doing a great job. I mean, people think I was going to fight him, but I think he's done a great job so far, and I hope he will continue to do so.
Okay, well, we will be watching. We will be watching and keeping an eye on your Twitter account, Carl.
Okay. Read it. Hey, Trish, I want you to read it. Okay.
I do,
Okay.
Carl.
Okay.
Every day.
All right.
Thanks so much, Carl Icahn.